My name is David MacDonald. I'm a retired major from the Air Defense Artillery. And in 1992, I was deployed to the Balkans as a military observer.
And how did that come about?
I had been asking my CO for, a year or two to get a peacekeeping mission, because that was the thing that people wanted to do. And I had been watching the war in Croatia on TV because I was posted in Germany at that time. And in March 1992, I was working on some of my equipment in my building, and my battery commander called me up to the office on the PA system. And as I walked in the door, he put his hand forward and said, "Congratulations, you're going to the Balkans in 72 hours." So I was a little bit shocked. I didn't know if that was possible. So that night I had got some boxes from CFTT. I packed all my personal belongings. At that time, I didn't have a lot of stuff. And then the next morning I came in to work and he said, "Okay, stand down. You're not going to the Balkans in 72 hours. You're still going, but in a few months." So I had a kind of a sigh of relief, and then ended up going to Ottawa in May, somewhere around the second week of May. And I got 5 days of training at NDHQ, because at that time there was no Peace Support Training Center. There was no military observer course. Mm-hmm. So we were given some lectures from the JAG, from some ex-military observers. We were able to get some equipment we couldn't get at our base. And then after 5 days of training there, I flew back to Germany. And I was posted to Baden-Solingen. And about a week later, I got on a plane and flew to Zagreb in Croatia. And that was 28 May 1992.
How did you become a team leader?
So during the training, I was told, we were told there was probably 20 or 30, young captains on the training, and we were told that we would never be team leaders. And this was based on, previous military observer experience, probably in the Middle East. And so I was like, that's fine. I didn't expect to be a team leader. And we when I arrived in Zagreb on the 28th of May, there was nobody at the airport to meet me. I didn't know where to go. All I had was a plane ticket, and my driver took me to Frankfurt. When I got on the plane, I was the only person on the plane. Maybe there was 2 or 3 other people. And I was sitting in business class, because that's what they used to, give military observers. I had one of the best meals I ever had in my life. I found out later that the reason the plane was empty is because the Serbians had got some land. They took some land, and they had air defense systems that were able to shoot down planes coming into Croatia, into Zagreb airport. I found that out later, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So there was supposed to be the headquarters in Sarajevo, and if you remember, General Lou Mackenzie was heading up the mission in the beginning, and they had to leave Sarajevo. They were going to go to Belgrade, and then they made the decision. The UN made a decision to go to Zagreb, and Zagreb was going to be the UN headquarters. So when I arrived, they were in the process of moving from Sarajevo, and probably some stuff from Belgrade as well, in Serbia. And I got off the plane. There was a Canadian soldier there in uniform. I was in uniform as well. And he said, "Did you see another captain on the plane?" And I told him no. And I said, "You're not here to pick me up?" And he said, "No, I didn't expect he would. Because as military observer, you don't work with the normal forces, right?" So I said, "You know where the headquarters is?" And he said, "Yeah, it's in a building about 1 kilometer from here." And so I asked him to drive me up, because I had 2 big duffel bags. He took me up. I went in the building. I asked where the military observers were. They said, on the fourth floor. I walked up, and as I came around the corner, the Canadian that I was replacing, at the time, Paul Hale, came out the door, and we linked up, and he said, "You're replacing me." And I'm like, "Okay." So that night we got to the hotel. He was going on a mission the next day. That night he broke his tooth in the restaurant on a steak. And so the next day I ended up going on the mission with no blue beret, no ID, no driver's license, with these three other guys from the team. And we went to Canine with the force commander, General Nambiar. Long story short, I got deployed within 2 weeks to Sector North, or the Pink Zone, as it was called at the time. And my team leader was a major from the Bangladesh Army, and we were on the Croatian side in a city called Karlovac.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the only team that was deployed inside Croatia, as opposed to being inside Sector North in the Pink Zone. Within 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, he came one day and said, "David, you're now the team leader, because I've been brought to the headquarters to be the sector second in command." And I said, I was told I would never be the team leader. He said, "You speak English and you know the most about this sector because you've been here for 2 weeks. You're now the team leader."
So, as you've explained, this is early days in the whole situation, whole mission. You've got 5 days training under your belt. Just for someone who doesn't know, what does a military observer like you at that time do in a typical day or week?
So the big thing would be patrolling every day. We were there to observe the ceasefire. And because I was in Croatia, the Croatian army and the Serbian breakaway army that was in the pink zones, there was Sector North and South, East and West. So our job, or the military observer's job, was to patrol the pink zones. Because I was on the Croatian side, I was allowed to patrol in Croatia and inside the pink zones. And our job was to liaise with my job was to liaise with the Croatian army mainly, which we did every day, 7 days a week at 9 o'clock in the morning. There was a liaison, and they spoke English. I have no doubt they were probably intelligence gathering as well, but we liaised with them every morning. And then every afternoon after that, I would go to the Serbian side and I would liaise with the Serbian liaison. So it was, so we would stay neutral, or we're supposed to be neutral. And then reporting was key, critical. So anything that we did during the day, in the evening, I would handwrite a report. It had to be into my headquarters, the sector, the Unmo sector headquarters, by, I think it was 8 p.m. And so we would finish the patrol. I would go to the office that was provided to me by the Croatian army. And we didn't have typewriters. We didn't have laptops. A piece of paper and a pencil. And I would handwrite the report. And then we had this antiquated fax machine. And by 8 o'clock p.m. each day, I had to send the report to my headquarters. And then they had till 2,200 hours or 2,300 hours. They had to send it in to the UN in Zagreb. And then the UN headquarters in Zagreb had to send that report to the UN headquarters in New York by a certain time. I don't remember what time, but that was the process. Basically, it was actually 6 days a week. Sundays we had team meetings.
No typewriter, no computers, and no weapons, right? You're unarmed?
Military observers are unarmed. I would like to say that the military observer is kind of like a military diplomat. And your job is to meet and talk with anybody that will talk to you and pass the message on. But again, observing and reporting is big. So we did patrol every day. We also patrolled with the Croatian liaison officers from time to time for our safety. And we also coordinated with the ECMM. If you remember, the European Union sent people in even before the UN went in, and they were dressed in the white uniforms. And so we coordinated with a team that used to come into our sector in Karlovac, and they were quite happy to coordinate with us so that we wouldn't be stumbling on each other's feet. So we would figure out where I'm going to patrol. They would go patrol a different spot that day.
And you told me before we started recording this interview that you were wounded one day. What happened?
So towards the end of the mission, in March 1993, I had spent, I guess, about 3 months in Sarajevo as the sub-sector commander. So I spent 6 months in Karlovac as a team leader for 3 to 4 UNMOs. I was then told I was going to Sarajevo to be the sub-sector Sarajevo, or Papa, as we were called, or that was my call sign, Papa 9. And I went in as the sub-sector 2IC for the team leader, or the sub-sector commander was a British RAF regiment officer. And then when he left in early January, I took over as the sub-sector commander. After 3 months, because we were only supposed to stay in one spot for 3 months, I was being deployed to Tuzla, and it took a couple of days to kind of shuttle me through the front lines and whatnot. And I ended up in a place in Serbia called Zvornik, and the Zvornik Bridge, which was near Srebrenica. There I ran into a team member from my first tour in Karlovac from Russia. And he was now the team leader, or the team 2IC. And he asked the UNMO sector commander or sub-sector commander in Tuzla if I could stay on the team at Zvornik. And so they said, yeah, absolutely, sure. So I ended up staying at the Zvornik Bridge area. And I think there was the town nearby was called Losnica, where we stayed in the hotel. And we started patrolling both sides of the Drina River near Zvornik and down as far as Srebrenica. On around the last week of March, general from France, I can't remember his name. He was trying to get into Srebrenica because of what was going on there. There was lots of, ethnic cleansing in the region. And I was on the team that was going in. So we did get into Srebrenica, and then we set up a team, and we started patrolling in Srebrenica. People were starving. We were coordinating food trucks with food aid to come in. We managed to get a couple of convoys in. And then on the 3rd of April, 1993, I was going up on top of the hill because Srebrenica was in a deep valley. So we were up trying to do some radio checks with the convoy coming in. And once the convoy got in, we had planned to go on a patrol. And it was springtime, but there was about a meter of snow came down. So we drove as far as we could in our vehicle. And then we got out of the vehicle to walk the remainder of the distance. And we got up on this hill by a destroyed farm, and we could see this attack coming in. We estimated it was a Serbian brigade with tanks, dismounted infantry, and they saw us, and they started firing mortars. So I got hit by a fragment from a 120 millimeter mortar. There was a journalist from Reuters, I think it was. He got hit, and one of these Bosnian soldiers that was with us for security got hit. So I got hit in the leg. They medevaced me out by like a picket fence. They made a homemade stretcher, just like you do in training. they took me down the Canadian APC with the Canadian medic, because it was Canadian RCR section that was in Srebrenica at that time. They took me back to the town, where I was later operated on by a Bosnian doctor who was actually, I found out later, he was not a surgeon. They did a really good job. And then I got medevaced by British Sea King the next day and taken to the Canadian Field Hospital, where I was operated on a second time. And then it was about a month of recovery from that time. I was very lucky. It was a flesh wound. I was grazed by a small fragment about the size of a dime.
And was that the end of your time as an UNMO in the Balkans?
No. I was in the hospital. The Bosnian surgeon, the Bosnian doctor, had actually sewed my wound up. And when I got to the Canadian Field Hospital, the Canadian surgeon came in and said, "I got to give you a history lesson on being wounded." He says, "We've known this since World War II, but probably the Bosnian doctor didn't know." He says, "You're not supposed to sew up a wound. You're supposed to let it heal up till it's back to the right color, and that you can see that it's healed. Then we'll sew it up." And so I said to him, "So I guess you're going to tell me we got to open up the stitches right now?" And he said, "Yes, right now." So 5 minutes later, I was sitting on a stretcher. They took all the stitches out. They put me asleep because it was so painful. And I spent about maybe 2 weeks in the field hospital. The general said I could stay on the mission. And then I went on sick leave for 2 weeks. And so about 30 days, I was healed up. The initial heal. And that was enough for me to go back in on the mission. I became a team advisor to the new team leader at Zvornik that came in from the UK for my last 30 days.
Well, thanks very much for sharing that story today.
Yeah, no problem. There's much more to be told, and I'm sure in your interviews you'll get lots of more good stories.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.